In our previous lesson, we learned that a website is made of web pages. So what is a web page made of? A web page is made of HTML. In today's lesson, we will learn about HTML. Let's get started. So what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It is a language that tells web browsers, Google Chrome, Safari, etc., how to structure any web page you visit. Now, to create web pages, you will create files written in HTML. And place these files on a web server. The HTML in the file will tell the web browser what it needs to know to display the web page. To demonstrate how the HTML you've written in the file is converted to a web page, let's examine the CNN website. So here is the CNN website, and we are on the landing page. When you visit this page, the web browser would make a request to the server for the HTML file. The HTML contains all the instructions needed to display the web page content. So whatever we are seeing on this web page, the text, this image, this video, this list, and any other element that we see on the page will be defined in the HTML file. When we talk about HTML, the videos, images, text, tables, forms that we need on our web page are called elements. So now let's learn about elements and then how to create them. Elements are the building blocks of web pages. Every HTML file consists of a series of elements, and these elements define the structure and the content of a web page. Each element you would use in your HTML will have a specific purpose and is represented by tags, which are enclosed in what we call angle brackets. Let's learn about tags. What is a tag? A tag is the text that is between the angle brackets and defines the beginning, end, or the end of an HTML element. Now, typically, tags comes in pairs. We have the opening tag and the closing tag. The opening tag marks the start of an element, whilst the closing tag, which would usually have a / marks the end of an element. So, for example, we have the opening tags as shown on the screen. We have the angle brackets, and between them is the text P. Another angle bracket, between is the text div. Another angle bracket, between we have the text H1. And then we have the closing tags, an angle bracket, a forward slash, then the text P, an angle bracket, a forward slash, then the text div, an angle bracket, a forward slash, then the text H1. So these are tags. Now, an element is the complete structure, including the opening tag, the content, and the closing tag. This is an example of an element. We have the opening P tag, the content, which is this is a paragraph, and the closing P tag. Let's examine an HTML element. This is the paragraph element. To my left, we have the opening tag. The opening tag is made up of the left angle bracket, the right angle bracket, and then the text P. We also have the closing tag. The closing tag is made up of the left angle bracket, the right angle bracket, a forward slash, and then the text P. In between your opening tag and the closing tag, you generally have the content. This is what you want to display on your web page. Because elements are the building blocks of web pages, there are different types of HTML elements. These include what we call structural elements, that is the HTML, the head, and then the body tag. There is also the text elements, which are used to display text. So the paragraph and heading elements are text elements. We have the link element, which is represented by the A or the anchor tag. There is the image element, represented by the IMG tag. There is the list element, which can help us to display a list of items, whether ordered lists or unordered lists, etc., etc. We've learned that an element is made up of tags and the content. The heading elements define the headings of a web page. In the example below, we have the H1 opening tag, the H1 closing tag. Between the opening tag and the closing tag is the content heading. Now the heading elements are in 6 variations, from H1 to H6. H1 represents the highest level heading and is visible to both users and search engines. When you want to display subheadings in your web page, you would use H2 to H6 elements. Next, we have the paragraph element. A paragraph element is used to define a paragraph of text. And so, in building your web page, anytime you want to display a paragraph of text to the user, in your HTML file, you would use a paragraph element. Image element. An image element is used to embed images in a web page. This is an example of an image element. You will notice that this element does not have an opening tag. It is just one tag with a /. Please take note when using the image element. The div element is used to define a division or a section of a web page. When building your web page, you will need to group content into sections. The div element helps you to divide or group your web content into sections. Now, there are various elements that we did not talk about and you would encounter in your web development journey. For instance, the table element, the form element, the list element, etc., etc. For now, let's focus on another important concept: HTML attributes. What is an attribute? Attributes provide additional details about the tag you are using in your HTML file. Let's look at an example of an attribute. To understand attributes, let's take a look at this HTML element. You will notice that in this element we have the opening tag and the closing tag. Then the content is between the opening tag and the closing tag. There is another property that we are seeing: attributes. As mentioned, attributes provide additional details about a tag. They are normally presented as attribute name and attribute value. So within the opening tag, you can add an attribute that will provide additional information about the tag. To further demonstrate attributes, we have a paragraph element here. In between the opening tag is our attribute. The attribute name is called class. You have your equal to sign and the attribute value in quotation mark. Our attribute value is called or named BG color. So the attribute we've added is providing additional information to the paragraph element. What it is saying is we are giving our paragraph an attribute called class, which has a value of BG color. Typically, this is how you apply styling to your element. And so in CSS, what this would mean is for the paragraph element, give it the background color that you would specify. To conclude this lesson, let's look at what we've learned. We've learned that HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it is a language for building web pages. Now, to build web pages, you first need to create a file containing your HTML code and put that file on a web server. The HTML file will mainly consist of HTML elements. HTML elements are the building blocks of a web page. A series of elements come together to form the web page. HTML elements consist of tags that can contain an attribute, and that attributes provide additional details about tags. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found this video useful, please don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.